everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb for October of 2018. Don't forget that you can also listen to this on Podbean, mrwebb.podbean.com, Stitcher, or iTunes. This is Observing with Webb, where a high school astronomy teacher tells you what you're looking at, why it's so cool, and what you should check out later this month at night. Let's get our last look at Jupiter this month. You get a little bit of a chance to see it. Saturn is also on its way out, being up for shorter and shorter amounts of time. And we've got Mars hanging out there for a good bit of the night. October is also going to bring us the annual Orionid Meteor Shower, and we have Halloween being a pretty moonless night. So let's start off by looking at the sky and seeing what planets we can find. Okay, I've got the setup here for October 3rd, and what's going on out there? The sun is still up, so let's watch the sun go down. There it goes. You can kind of see Mercury and Venus there, but they're not really going to be visible. Here's what we got tonight on October 3rd, and then we'll see how that changes over the month. So we have Jupiter off pretty low in the west-southwest. We've got Saturn in the south-southwest, and Mars over here in the southeast, that sort of area. So let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is technically up around sunset, but the dusk is going to make it kind of hard to see. It's going to be a little bright. In fact, if we go a little bit later, it'll be darker and easier to see, but it will be a little lower as well. But Jupiter's got those nice Galilean moons going for it, if you can get a last shot at that. Otherwise, you're going to have to get up really early the next, in about a month or two to actually see it. Then we've got Saturn over here. Saturn is actually technically, it's up around sunset, and it's about 20 degrees above the south-southwest horizon. And it's right above Sagittarius, so if you can find the teapot of Sagittarius, you'll be able to see Saturn right above it. And it sets around 10:30, so you got to make sure you get out there before 10:30. And then Mars is over here. This is nice. You don't get to see 3 planets in a row too often. But over here is Mars, and Mars is already in the southeast around sunset, and it's right in the middle of Capricorn, actually kind of off to the side here, but it is traveling toward the southwest, and it will set around 1 in the morning, so you have a good chance to see Mars, even though in a telescope it's not all that impressive. Now you might be wondering about Mercury and Venus. Well, again, if we rewind the clock, you notice that Mercury and Venus are just too close to the sun. Mercury is way too close to be seen, and Venus is not as close, but it's basically setting right after the sun sets, so you're not going to see them. And a bunch of other stuff. So we start off the month with a last quarter moon. The new moon is on the 8th, so the 8th and that first week is really good for taking a good look at the night sky because there's really no moon. And then the next thing that really happens is October 11th. If you're looking for Jupiter, all you really have to do is find the moon. Now on October 11th, the moon is a very thin crescent, so you might need your binoculars and you'll need a good view of the southwest horizon. And so the first thing you want to do is try to find that nice crescent moon, probably with a good bit of earth shine, what they call earth shine, the light that's shining off of the earth and bouncing off the earth and hitting the moon and then bouncing back to us. So if you can find that crescent moon, Jupiter is going to be about 3 degrees below that. That's about 3 pinky widths held at arm's length. And it's going to be a beautiful pair up there in the sky. If we zoom out, we can see that the next planet in line for a close encounter is Saturn. So let's go ahead, and we see the moon getting thicker and thicker, and oh, there we go, the 14th. October 14th is when you want to look for Saturn and the moon, and you should be able to also see Sagittarius as well. But the moon will be drowning out a little bit of that with light pollution, but the moon will be about 2 degrees away from Saturn. Now you want to make sure that you get out after sunset, so after like 6:45, but then also before, let me see here, about I believe 10:30, nope, 10 o'clock. Get out before 10 o'clock, otherwise they'll be setting or set and you won't be able to see them anymore. All right. So October 16th is when we have the first quarter moon, and then you see Mars is next in line. And so we notice that on the 17th and 18th is when the moon actually kind of splits or skips over Mars. On the 17th, the moon will be about 6 degrees to the right of Mars, and then on the 18th, the moon will be about 6 degrees up and to the left of Mars. So if you've been trying to find Mars, well, it's actually not that hard. You just look for the most red thing in the sky. And it's going to be bright. It's not going to be easy to miss. And but sometimes we get confused. My son still thinks it looks white. I think it looks red. So I just say, okay, on the 17th and 18th, look for the moon, and Mars will be the red thing right nearby. Now that brings us to the 20th to the 22nd, and something that is hard to show you on here. It is the Orionid Meteor Shower. So let's go to the 20th, and what do we notice for this meteor shower? Well, the moon, that's a nice waxing gibbous. That's not so good for watching any meteors. However, what we can do is change the direction that we look. See, the moon's pretty much in the south, so let's face north. Let's turn all the way around, put the moon at our back, and look pretty much at the entire sky, at least on that side. And you should be able to catch some meteors. There's only about 15 to 20 per hour, or 10 to 15 because of the light pollution. And one thing we can do, though, is we can wait until 4:30 in the morning. Okay? Why would we wait till 4:30 in the morning? Because that is when the moon is set. And we've got Orion very high in the sky at that point, here in the south. So you can look kind of, well, any direction, and you can see some of the meteors coming that way. So after 4:30 in the morning is probably your best time. However, dawn pretty much starts at about 6 o'clock. So you have about an hour and a half to actually get out there. But that would be my advice, is get out there in the morning to check it out. Orionid Meteor Shower. Oh, and by the way, why is it the Orionid Meteor Shower? Because the meteors appear to come from a spot just toward the top of Orion. And so you don't want to look at Orion, you want to look more off to the side, any side of Orion. Let's take a look at the whole sky right around sunset. You'll notice there is a moon that's pretty big over there. We go about an hour past sunset, and on the 24th is when we have a full moon. It's about a week early for Halloween. But speaking of Halloween, if we go to the 31st and we go to about 7:30 when it's nice and dark, you have a pretty good sky for setting up a telescope on your sidewalk. If I were setting up a telescope for Halloween, I would first try to get Saturn in there because everybody always loves looking at Saturn's rings. If that doesn't work, I might try Albireo, which is this double star in Cygnus, right around here. You get a nice bright orange star and a dimmer blue star, right there in your telescope. Just the contrast is really engaging. Or maybe you want to look at the Andromeda galaxy up here above Andromeda. Those would be really good options for Halloween and really make a good impression on those trick-or-treaters.
Are there patterns in our skies? Are patterns only in our eyes?
All right, so what constellations are up there to take a look at? Well, after dinner, before bed, and before work are good times to go out. So let's say it's right after dinner, about a little bit before 8 p.m., maybe 7 p.m. You should still be able to see Lyra the Harp, Cygnus the Swan, and Aquila the Eagle over here. I've talked about this before. The brightest stars of these three constellations forms the summer triangle. So you should still be able to see them after dinner. However, what happens is as the night goes by, let's say about 10 p.m., now is when, right before bed, you go out and you can see the great big square that is Pegasus. This is really beautiful because it's an almost perfect square, and I really like Andromeda that kind of goes off of it. This one corner star, Andromeda has 1, 2, 3 pairs of stars. And the pattern that these stars make is sort of a curve or a cornucopia or a horn, or I don't know, make something up. And what you can do there is just behold that beauty, but then also take this second set right here and go about the same distance up, and you will find the Andromeda Galaxy. Oh look, there it is. Let's go further. There we go. Now, this is not exactly what it will look like in a telescope. In fact, it will look even fuzzier than that and more uniform. You won't really see much detail, but if you can attach a camera to your telescope, or just take it and aim it up in that direction and take a nice long exposure, you might actually catch some really cool parts of Andromeda, but most likely just a little fuzzy. But you're looking at a galaxy of billions of stars up there, and that's quite remarkable. Now, before work, though, what do we want to look at before work? Well, honestly, my favorite thing to do before work, so let's go to sunrise and then go back about an hour. So before 6, my favorite thing is just to look at Orion up there. Orion is just amazing. Morning, you don't feel like thinking all that much, but Orion just pops right out. You can see the vertical bow tie. You can see the 3 belt stars right here. We've got the shoulder, which is red Betelgeuse, the blue knee, which is Rigel. If you have a telescope, you can even zoom in on the Orion Nebula, which is just awesome to look at. Just really neat stuff, all in Orion, and I'll go into more detail about Orion and the winter constellations later on. But yeah, so anyway, that is pretty much it for the month of October. Remember the meteor shower, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And yeah, I wish you all very clear, dark skies for the month of October.